And this one's gonna be interesting. Okay, we're starting off with Dry Arabia. And yeah, I mean, how is this gonna be played? So we know that B and Mista, both of these players, they're known for having very, very interesting strategies. Very much strategies that don't really confine to the normal meta. And we're about to see what exactly that entails. Our game number 1 is about to begin, and here we go. In the orange, we've got 3DB playing as the Malians, and on the opposite side, we have My Insanity, TheMista, in the blue, playing as the Ottomans.
Yeah, and just both of these players going for the typical openings. We're going to see that military school as well as the pit mine. Earlier in the game, in this matchup, I think we saw 4 houses get built around it. So let's see if Mista is going to do any sort of early aggression like we saw, or if he's gonna let B kind of chill out a bit and let Mali get into their comfort zone.
It looks to be aggression, but not too much rushed. He isn't going for that early barracks. Instead, he's opening up with the military school. I somewhat like this better because you might still be able to burn down a house, but you don't have to invest and delay your feudal age timing as much as you would with a normal barracks.
Yeah, it definitely gives Mali a little bit more time to breathe, though. That first spearman not going to be coming across until after that kind of 3-minute mark is when it's going to be arriving at the base, and at that point, usually Mansa Quarry is already being built and on its way up.
Exactly, especially with the Malians, you can justify rushing up your landmark with a couple more villagers. Look at the scouting path here by B, very interesting, just going for an immediate B line. Get it? B-line? To his opponent there. In order to scout what exactly he's going for. Still gets a good amount of sheep out of that. Mista, on the other hand, he's gone for the normal kind of scouting pattern around his base. But now that B went for this kind of scouting pattern, this forces Mista to change his own scouting pattern, else he will just be following B scout, and that never feels good.
Yeah, and this is one of those that maybe B watched the demo game earlier, saw that barracks opening and went, I need to make sure that that's not exactly what's going to be happening this game, because he doesn't want to have to change up his game plan. He doesn't want to have to drop the Saharan Trade Network instead of the Mansa Quarry. So this is where, you know, B made sure to scout that out, made sure to get vision of that, and I think that might have been one of the goals with that initial aggressive scouting it early.
There we go, Mansa Quarry being rushed up with 8 villagers right now, and it looks like there's only 4 houses right now on the pit mine. So he didn't go for the 6 houses that you might go for. 4 houses just being a little bit more safe means that if your opponent is going super aggressively early on, then you can't lose more than 4 houses instead of losing potentially 6 houses if everything like goes the worst way possible. And there we go. Mr. Scouts at the gold position. Gold is in the back, which is always very, very nice for the Malians. They love to have their gold mine protected in the back. So pit mine is going to be pretty tough to get some aggression on. It looks like the spearman is actually just running back. He probably realizes, yeah, that's not a lot that I can do to that. And spearman running back is also a good choice, because if something like a pro scout would come out, for example, you want to have the spears in position for that in order to deny the pro scouts any of the deer. And actually he finds 2 sheep with the spearman there, so scout can come back, get those 2 sheep, and he'll be all fine there. Be right now heavily chopping wood, wants to get his first production building out as soon as possible.
Yeah, you have to respect that military school, so you really need to assume those spears are going to be coming across, because if you have 2 spears over on your gold mine, you're going to eventually need to push them off, or else you're just going to lose your pit mine, lose your houses and everything around it. So definitely prepping for that. And Mansa Quarry has already been working hard for him, so it kind of makes up for that lack of houses that he did have before this.
Yeah, Mansa Quarry being worth 2 villagers on gold right now, 75 gold per minute that you get out of it. A villager being worth, without eco upgrades, roughly 38 gold, I want to say, per minute that they gather. So pretty much 2 villagers, always very nice to have. No production building yet. Gets some feudal drop-off buildings first. Not feudal drop-off buildings, but just some eco drop-off buildings first. Gets the mill, gets the lumber camp, and with the Malians you can get economy upgrades really, really early on, and we do see that double broadaxe coming in. You don't need to mine gold early on because you get so much from it passively.
Yep, another couple houses made up for those, and dropping the mining camp. So 3DB hasn't really had to deal with any pressure so far, but one thing I hate seeing is him being on the berries this early. It seems like that's not a place you usually want to be finding yourselves.
Definitely not. So might have just been not finding too many sheep there. And it also looks like he isn't going for professional scouts. Instead, it looks like he's immediately transitioning into a cow boom. He's already dropping that first cattle ranch, which is quite early into the game. Also making a production building though next to his woodline, so he's got a barracks there from the looks of it. So might be making some dunzos first to start off the game.
Yeah, and 2 cows immediately jump inside of that cattle ranch, so just passive resources going through the roof already over on the Mali side.
Looking over to the west of his base, he has 2 additional gold mines there, which are somewhat in the back compared to the relatively to his opponents. So that's another 2 pit mines, and we've seen a theme here today with the Malians just getting really, really good gold spawns for their pit mines. That's definitely an option there. Now also adding in an archery range, so getting a good unit composition out early on in order to defend against anything that the Ottoman might send his way. Mista hasn't made too many military buildings yet, though, and it looks like with the amount of villagers that he has on stone, that Mista might actually be going for a second TC expansion here with the Ottomans.
I mean, it wouldn't be surprising to me, as Mista's one of those players, like we said, he has his different play style. Everyone right now would be expecting Ottomans on stone. Yeah, it's going to be, you know, a couple military schools. Mista on stone could mean 2 TCs over here.
Yeah, and that seems to be the way it's going. So we might be seeing a second TC here from the Ottomans. Definitely a good idea. If you're playing against the cow boom, you do also want to have a way to scale into the game as the game continues. And B does seem to be spotting that, though. He does have his scout up there. So he will know that Mista is going for that. And that means that he can just freely invest into his cow boom for now.
Yeah, and I mean, this is a point where you'll see like ABBA do this a lot, where they'll have a lot of vills and they'll be up a ton of vills, but still Mali's able to put pressure on. Well, Ottomans doesn't have that same economic boom like ABBA does. They have usually that militaristic boom. And so this is going to be a different playstyle than we're typically used to.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like he's completely undefended here. He does, or rather he invested a little bit into military. Now the second pit mine is also going up. So both of these players are just looking to scale the economy right now. And yeah, not too much going on right now when it comes to military being made. I mean, that's a pie. It feels like he's been in queue in that military school forever now. But he's going to be coming out soon.
He's getting there. Just you wait.
Just a little bit longer. Mista also gathered a little bit of bonus stone just in order to be able to drop 2 more military schools as he goes. He can then use the Vizier point if it goes longer into feudal age.
And 3DB, with that gold swap, it looks like 3DB might be thinking about castle age here pretty soon. He's going to have the food from the ranch is starting to come online. He's had plenty of villagers on gold, which is going to be for more cows and for hopefully castle age, I think, long term.
Yeah, just want to have a lot of cows right now. Want to fill up all of these cattle ranches. He's got a lot of villagers on wood right now, just in order to be able to facilitate all of these buildings that he makes. All the cattle ranches, all the pit mines, all the houses on the pit mines that he's made so far. I like the play that he's not completely undefended. Like, he's not doing this just naked with the information that Mista isn't pushing him right now. He still has a couple of units just in case something goes wrong.
Yeah, and not only that, you expect Ottomans to at least have a couple of units, and usually if you're scouting out and you see your opponent not having any units and you have a few, you're going to at least utilize those to pressure to have some sort of reaction, and B, having just a few allows Mista or causes Mista to not actually push out on the map with his units.
Yeah, behind this, B is also looking to just completely wall up his face. I like the cattle ranch placement here. Now, sure, it's somewhat to the front, but it's most optimal place to the front. Like, he's even hiding one of the cattle ranches behind us, TC, and he has just enough place, just enough room for that Grand Fulani Corral there. Really, really like the placement there.
And he's already up at 18 cows inside those ranches. That is just all the way cow boomed over here, basically to the max at this point, and it's not even the 10-minute mark yet.
Yeah, I think 18 is just what you want to have, just to be able to have like 2 cattle out every now and then that then your villagers can feed off. So you're not completely reliant on that cow income. You can further scale that with your villagers eating the cattle.
And speaking of, those 2 cows were just sitting there in the middle, wondering if those are going to get slaughtered here shortly next to the TC.
It looks like Mista is going for pretty fast age up now behind this as well. He's got that second TC, so he's scaling that way, and behind that also going for an age up. He not too far behind though.
Yeah, Mista was able to get out onto those deer, get onto some of those other resources, not having to spend gold to get food resources, but instead, you know, just getting right on top of those, and that's where able to get that very, very quick timing on that MIA.
He's also got a couple of supplies, so with that he might be able to cover for that age up, maybe get a raid in. It's gonna be tough though, just seeing how B already pretty much secured his walls, and I mean, the supply might still be able to get a run by in, but they're not going to be able to go in too far, especially with B also investing a little bit more into Dunzos. 7 Dunzos, if they fire the javelins, it's going to be a lot of damage on the spy.
Yeah, those javelins just got a pretty, or those Donzos have that ranged attack, and then javelins, they don't quite have that high base damage that they used to have. I feel like when Molly first came out, when everyone was just massing jabs, but still have a pretty profound bit of base damage themselves, though.
Did that ever get nerfed, the base damage? I don't remember that, actually.
Maybe it was their wind-up got changed or something or another. Who knows what, but to the mass where you'd start overkilling a lot, and I feel like that was when the javelin started to become... Okay.
Oh, I'm refreshing. Never mind, it's going again.
All right.
Never mind. It's there, it's there, it's there. All's good.
All is good. Odd. I have no idea.
Yep, nope, stream is there. Looks good. We're back, everybody. Just F5, refresh, and all is well. We're still in this.
Odd little disconnect there, but we are all good to go. Not sure what went on. You could see, though, Mista, he's been building that economic lead, which is not really typical for the Ottomans. And Ottomans are usually going to be that civilization to have just a huge military, but having the economic lead is not like that won't transition into the military lead in just a bit.
Yeah, I mean, that was really smooth, so I think it was just Twitch probably lagging there for a little second. But there we go. Both players are now in Castle Age. The Cow Boom is in full play right now. B, he's got his army composition. He's got Donzos and Javelin throwers right now. Mista, he's got a good amount right now of Spy. He's also letting in some of his own archers right now. And yeah, overall, just looking really good here for both players. I like the idea of Mista both scaling with the military academies as well as with the second TC, and now he's actually able to kill one of the 2 of the cattles here. Oh, but the Donzos are gonna get a kill. 1 kill.
2?
Javelin's gonna get another?
Yeah, Jav's cleaned up 1 on the other side, but you could just see how quickly those Sapai were able to take down a cattle ranch for 1, and also how quickly those Donzos were able to close out and get damage on top of those Sapai as they were running away.
Yeah, they do a very good job. Behind this now, B is also making some sofas. Mista is also prepping in a couple of crossbows. Crossbows are very nice, especially when you use them against the javelin throwers, because they have high base damage and there's no bonus damage from normal archers against javelin anyways. So with the high base damage, crossbows can actually do a good amount of damage to the javelin throwers as well.
Yeah, I love the idea from Mista. You can see that the more important thing out is the mangonel from the Mehmed Imperial Armory starting to move out on the field, and if that mangonel gets a shot in on 3DB's army, I mean, it has that perfect damage against all of it.
Yeah, and you definitely have to respect that early mangonel that comes out from the Ottomans. It is so dangerous, and in the game, like, ever since they changed the way that melee units work against siege, where they don't use the torches in order to torch down the siege, body blocking has become a lot easier in order to avoid your siege getting sniped. So it's very difficult to take down the opponent's siege when there's a lot of units out on the field.
Yeah, I still get baited into the like, oh, I got like 20 horsemen, I can just go snipe that mangonel, and then by the time my horsemen get to the mangonel, I have like 4 of them left, and I'm like, oh, I'm such an idiot. So
yeah, it's a thing. You definitely need speed as spring notes against that. Oh, Sofa's a little bit too
yeah, it was a bold play there and Mist is starting to just get his line, his grouped army across. B has walled himself in, which is just inviting the Mista to be the one to take the map control and start moving out and taking everything as far as these resources that he can.
Yeah, but behind this, Mr. Space is not that open as well. He also put up a couple of walls just to narrow down the points that B can try to raid from. But B right now, he's making a lot of sofas. He's down to he's up to 10 right now, 10 sofas, and that with imported armor. These sofas are quite tanky.
Yeah, if Mista lets B chill a little bit longer, this is where, you know, you're going to see all of those sofa be the unit that B nonstop produces. He's got all the food from the cattle ranches, he's got the gold from the pit mines, and just goes directly into sofas.
Oh, but I think Mista might be a little bit blindsided to relics right now. B just dropped down 2 mosques, and he's pumping out some monks here, some imams, I think, there for the Malians as well, and they're running around collecting these relics now. Mista hasn't made a move towards that yet.
Yeah, definitely a aspect. Well, he spots out that imam, and that's going to make him probably immediately react with monasteries of his own, but main clash coming in, javelins firing out on the backside, Mangonel fires, but not able to connect, and just a standoff for now.
I also like the idea of Mista potentially adding in some Janissaries right now. Just because the javelin throwers overkill anyways, usually. So it doesn't really make a big difference if you make Janissaries or crossbows, but the Janissaries do a lot more damage to sofas.
And those sofa with the scout, they have blood on their mind. They are headed towards the eco. They want to find some damage. They find the second TC spot and location, but have not hit any villagers yet.
Yeah, but the Spa here are going to be really, really good against the sofas as well. Now there's double Mangonels out, so B has to be careful with how he wants to engage. Oh, Matter, he's in the back and he gets taken down. Mangonels now turning around, getting some shots off.
Not the craziest bit of connection to the start. Range mass still grouped together, and he dodges into the Mangonel shots, and half of his range mass just gets obliterated.
Huge shot, a lot of units go down. Now it's just going to be onto the front line, and B just lost a lot of units. He killed a couple of villagers, but I don't think it's enough, and with that, that fight is going clearly the way of the Mista.
Yeah, still has had some hecticness in the base of the Mista, but Mista still has a 20 eco advantage. We're not including the passive resources because it's always kind of hard to keep those numbers up, but B's still in the base. He's still trying to equalize this out a little bit.
Yeah, he killed a couple more villagers now, got a total of 9 villager kills. Behind this though, Mista hasn't made a move yet for any of these relics, and B is currently getting the 3rd one for himself.
And he's still on. He's still in the base with a few of those sofa, not allowing Mista to push forward, breathe, and clean this up. Couple Sipahi going for a circle, but yeah, it's just he needs to respect his sofas in his base because it's the thing causing his thorn in his side.
The TCs just don't do any damage to the sofas, right? They got so much armor. It keeps going. Oh, he activated the aura on the Spy. Actually, is the Spy gonna go down before he kills the sofa? Oh, gets another Imam kill. 4 of the relics already captured. Oh, but the relics are forward.
Not only are the relics forward.
Thank you for gathering them up for me.
I mean, Mista's knocking on B's front doorstep, and B's trying to lock the door with a couple different locks, and Mista just might have all the keys because this is looking scary for 3DB right now.
What is B doing? He's massing sofas, but there's 15 Janissaries right now. And they attack fast. They have fast attack speed, but he might get a dive onto the Mangonels. Mangonels still get some shots off though. And the Zapali are clearing up the sofas in the back actually. They're taking a really good fight there. Mango shots huge as well, killing all of the javelin throwers there in the back, and the entire army of 3DB gets completely wiped.
The Sipahi now have the whole economy for their taking. Mangonel's gonna fire off on the cattle ranches. There is not much time left for 3DB. All the economy he invested into, it's all gonna get destroyed. So much for this cow boom.
The Mangoes don't just take down the cattle ranchers, they immediately say goodbye to the cattle as well, taking them down instantly. Now finally 3DB starts to respect the Mangonels here. He's going for some sprinkles, but could this just be too little too late?
Might have been going for a desperation Wololo, or trying to just put that in the monastery that's already been destroyed. The cows are running home. This reminds me of when the Mongol TC gets destroyed and the sheep need to run somewhere. They don't have many places to go, and 3DB is struggling to stabilize.
Yeah, and with that, all of the cattle here are gonna get taken down. Springles, though, start to take some shots onto the mangonels. Mangonels are gonna have to reposition. Don't reposition, get all taken down. All the mangonels are gone, but there is no military left here for 3DB, and even with the mangonels being cleared up, there is no way for him to get rid of Mista in his base right now. He has no military left. Mista wins this one for sure, and 3DB taps out. Insanely well played by Mista, going for a huge timing push, and just B, not respecting the mangonels, and the mangonels show him otherwise.
Yep, game number 1, going over to TheMista on the Ottomans. Another civ that a lot of the pros say needs some love, they need some help a little bit, but we have seen Ottomans showing strong today.
Yeah, Ottomans, I mean, people say that Ottomans are weak. I disagree. I think Ottomans are still in a really, really good spot overall. I think they're a pretty good civilization. Janissaries especially are just a really good unit. Sometimes people say Janissaries need to be buffed. I think Janissaries is quite fine right now the way they are.
It makes sense with like the unit they counter and what they're meant to do. They do it perfectly. There's not a better counter unit in the game than Janissaries versus Cavalry, but they just feel weak against everything else, which just means you need to be utilizing them as they should be.
With the matter, they got as much attack speed as like composite bow archers for the Abbasid. I think that makes up for a lot of it. But here we see the military count, and we can just feel those mango shots coming in there, right? Just these really, really steep dives down. And yeah, Mista takes the first game here in our set.
Game number 1, going over to one of the fan favorites. I know both of these players are some of the fan favorites out there, but what do we have in store for game number 2?
We're going to be seeing Lipany, and it's going to be the Abbasid here for B, and we're going to be seeing the French here for Mista. All right. So French on Lipany, not something we've seen here today. I don't think we've seen something like this tournament, so that's going to be very, very interesting.
No, both of the Lipany games we've seen today are more of the boomy civilizations. It's more of like a ABBA versus Chinese or ABBA versus ABBA. But instead, we're gonna see Mista playing some French, and so is he gonna try to kind of equalize the economic boom from ABBA and still keep that control because French has those Royal Knights.
Yeah, I mean, the French Royal Knights are always going to be something to watch out for, but if there's a civilization that can handle them, it has to be the Abbasid. Not only do you get those spears with the bonus range, you also get the Camel Aura debuff. And both of these combined just are perfect counter to the French. However, something that I do like to see from the French, or something that sometimes gets underestimated, are the Arbaletrie. And the Arbaletrie for the French, not just are they really, really strong against melee units, but they're also pretty damn good against range units, against archers as well, because once they deploy the Pavisa, they get +5 bonus ranged armor. And with that, if you get all the upgrades, archers pretty much only do 2 damage a pop with every single attack. And not just that, but it's been recently buffed, so while the Pavisa are deployed, the Arbaletrie also get 1 bonus range, so they actually outrange archers.
Yeah, it's one of those that I feel like French are known for making all knights in some games, but there have been some French games where I've seen some people just basically go all arbs once they hit Castle Age, and there's not many units that can deal with it effectively, especially when you get a big mass.
I've seen people asking for cock again. We might see a Chamber of Commerce here from TheMista. It is not impossible. It is TheMista after all. He is known for playing some very, very interesting strategies. Both of these players are. So maybe this is going to be it. This is maybe the point where we will see Chamber of Commerce being played.
Yeah, one thing though, it's on Lipany, and so it's highly dependent on where that kind of market spawn is in comparison to your TC. So would kind of be odd. Obviously, you can build another market and make your traders have the full distance, but usually you're wanting that payoff as quick as possible.
Yeah. Now, before we go into our second game of our third set here for the day, I just want to thank all of the people that have subbed during our last game. There were a lot of subs coming in there as well, and I just want to say thank you all so much. It means a great deal. You don't just support EGC, you support the casters, you support the entire Age of Empires 4 tournament scene. It's all very much appreciated. And with the gifted subs, not only do you support us, but you also help a poor soul that has to suffer from these ads no longer suffer from them.
Well, they're not all poor souls. I've seen some of the gifted subs going into some of the hype big name community members. So maybe, you know, sometimes you're just rewarding some of the players themselves who are coming in to stop by, watch the channel, and support too.
Yeah, it's going out to everybody here, and I think that's all just the best way to support the community. Just helping EGC bring out all of these amazing tournaments. I mean, this day so far, it's just been absolutely amazing. All of the games that we've had here so far, they were incredible. And this set already, it started off with an absolute banger. All of these games in the set are probably going to be amazing, and I can't wait for the next one.
Yeah, we still got a tight one at hand. Civilization matchup, French versus ABBA. It used to be one that I would say that this was like dead even or even French favored, but now with just all these little slight changes, especially to ABBA's weakest point, which is like that early feudal age, you made fresh food stuffs a little bit cheaper, a little bit easier to invest into. It just shored up their weakest points that allows them to get where they want to.
Exactly. Something that I also just thought about, maybe if we see the French Chamber of Commerce, could we also see the Abbasid trade wing?
Well, Marine Lord has entered the chat. I remember when there was a time when Marine Lord was all about the trade wings, talking about how it was way too OP, too good. And then the couple times we saw him attempt it, it didn't play out too well for him, I will say.
Yeah, legends say that Marine Lord's head circumference actually shrunk an entire millimeter that day.
Oh, you know, it's one of those things that I still will say when they first made the update, there's sometimes, especially in team games, that you're like, I can't do anything to those first couple traders. They have such a good payoff. But against French, that's a civilization that can usually deal with trade pretty well and effectively, that being ABBA trade, maybe not as much the Mongols.
Oh, we got the cock versus the twat potentially here. All right, that's gonna be it for the acronyms here that we've got going. And yeah, game number 2 just about to begin. We're initiating our overlay here.
Yeah, see, Recon, they both remember it was the pit for sure. I remember the game.
It was against B, wasn't it?
But anyways, we are into this second game. 3DB in the orange on ABBA, and Mista in the blue on the French, and checking in on these spawns. We're just going to see if there's any kind of advantage spot. You know, where's B going to be wanting to place that secondary TC and everything of that sort.
Oh, this time we got the big gold mine spread out. So this one is not all about the big golds. I mean, not like it was that case in the last couple of Lippany games that we had. Those were all fairly aggressive in the Castle Age and didn't go for too long. But yeah, big gold spawn a little bit more even now this time around. And looking at the markets, I mean, sure, they're not immediately in the corner, but they are pretty close to wood lines with which you can completely wall them in. So it's not impossible to trade here.
No, not at all. And, you know, it's one, though, that it's still maybe not the most prime time position. It's not like a Frisian Marshes where, again, your opponent's neutral market's directly opposite from you, so it's the farthest side possible, and it's not like it's tucked away in the corner. It's definitely efficient, but it's just maybe not protectable.
Yeah, something that could play a role here, though, is we see that there are wood lines in the opposite corners here for both players, so it might be a little bit tough to put a market there.
That is the truth for sure. That's one of the things where sometimes the map is working with you and sometimes against you. If you can't place it, though, it would allow a nice and easy wallable spot to kind of make your traders have a straight path.
Here we go, just 10 more seconds until we see the A-drops coming in from our players. 10-ish seconds, I would say. And yeah, is it going to be Trade Wing? Is it going to be Chamber of Commerce? We'll see in just a little bit.
Yeah, my guess is going to be Military Wing and School of Cavalry.
Nah, you're no fun, but yeah, I agree. It's probably gonna be. It's probably gonna be that.
I will say, if it's Chamber of Commerce, I won't be complaining. I'll be hyped to see it. It's always an interesting. Oh.
It's gonna be a school. It's gonna be a school of cavalry and a military wing. Okay. We see these two. They're not B. They're not Mista. These aren't innovators. They're meta players. Wow. Never mind. Okay. So it's going to be a school of cavalry against the military wing here early on. Question
Yeah.
is, are we going to just see a second TC from both of these players? I mean, this map, it's pretty tough to do aggression immediately early on because there's no straight path to your opponent, right? You got wood lines in between, you got a big stealth forest, you got cliffs, and overall you just don't have like that direct path to your opponent. So early aggression, I'm not sure is going to be the best thing here. I think sustained aggression is more going to be the name of the game here on Lipany.
Yeah. And so let's see if sustained aggression is what ends up happening. B moves over to that stone as he has clicked the military wing, and so feeling pretty comfortable there. The first couple units to pop out from the military wing, it's one that you can either defend up from that first night, try to be aggressive, but by the time the spears and archers are coming across, your spears don't have the veterans the veterancy upgrade that they or hardened upgrade that they need, so they're not really capable of taking on French knights.
Yeah, I agree. Like having that early knight, and even if you take a little bit of damage on that knight, it doesn't really matter too much. You can still raid further outward resources. You can also just heal him up with chivalry. But look like B is already going on that stone, so he's gonna be prepping himself for that second TC. TC spots, he does have deer relatively close to each other. Actually, if he drops a TC on his close deer spot, he can then just wall the corner to the cliff, and he's gonna have both of these deer spots pretty much completely secured.
Oh yeah, and that's a spot you'd love finding yourself in as the ABBA. You know, one of your weakest or one of your resources that players typically like to focus in on and pressure is going to be those secondary food ones, which is typically why you drop a TC on them.
Yeah, exactly. You want to have that big food source. Also helps you with your age up time quite a bit. Question is B gonna drop it on the deer, or is he first gonna drop it on the stone and then go for a third TC? Because no, don't forget, like when you play against a civilization like the French, if they mirror you and they also go for a second TC, they're still gonna be scaling much faster than you because of that French TC bonus, where their villagers are produced much quicker.
And look at that timing. Right as B was circling the stone, he spots it out, doesn't see Mista move out to there. He actually, I'm pretty sure Mista moved out to the stone right as B's scout left vision. So he doesn't actually have that full knowledge if he should be going for that third yet. Might do another circle back around, but the second TC spot, it's actually on the forward berries.
Oh, he does have his military wing units there. Okay, so he'll be fine. But yeah, Mista is so good at just denying information based on like knowing where the opponent's scout is. I remember a game where he played against Demu, where he saw the scout from Demu. He started building a stable, and the second Demu left the scouting range, he stopped building the stable and instead built archery ranges.
Yeah, a little bit of a bait and switch move over there. I've seen him do that exact thing a few times. And, you know, let's see if he can have any mind games over here in this one.
Knight just running around for now, trying to find any exposed resources. None to be found yet, though, and it looks like B. Did he actually... No, he just connected the stone mine. I thought for a second that maybe he wants to go back out to stone, but no, he just built a house there. So now he is pretty much up in Golden Age, or at least he will be once the next house finishes. And with that, he's going to get a nice boost to his own economy. Could be going for a third TC, because now we see Mista going for his second TC. And as I mentioned, the TCs from the French, they just are built a little bit differently. They produce villagers a little bit faster. You know, the French, they like to have a little bit more fun than other civilizations. And with that, going for a second TC still kind of puts you behind.
Yeah, it's one I can't tell you how many times I've finished a game, ABBA versus French, and I've like had my TC up earlier or whatever it may be, and then I look at the graph and I'm like, I never was even ahead. Like, what the heck? French TCs, it's like, I just call it like discount Song Dynasty.
Yeah, pretty much. To some degree, it's really close. Like in Castle Age, I think a villager takes 16 seconds for French, and it's only 15 seconds for China with Song Dynasty, so it's pretty much equal.
Yep. One thing I noticed right off the bat is how lovely the deer are next to the TC, rather than what was it in the Louis Marine Lord game when it was a mile away.
that was a filthy display by Marine Lord, just having a little bit of APM, spare APM there, and using it to make Louis stay absolutely horrible. I mean, those deer were miles apart from each other. You could have dropped a mill on every single deer there.
Probably needed to do so with the inefficient gathering, but it looks like B has some nice old just wall segments on the backside, so he protects those deer spawns, protects that TC spawn, and really everything behind his bases.
Yeah, it looks like there's not going to be a third TC coming up from B, which means this villager graph is going to go further and further into favor for Mista as the game continues. But now B knows that there is a second TC from the Mista. Wondering if maybe now he starts thinking about going for a third TC after the fact, but it looks like maybe he's just going to continue. No, there it is. He's on stone. He's going to go for it.
He just went for the more convenient stone since he already built that TC further away from the initial stone vein. He just said, all right, I can sacrifice another mining camp. I'm going to want this stone in the long run anyways.
Behind this, right now, Mista has a lot of wood. I'm not quite sure. Oh, he's going for a third TC. Mista is going for a third TC as well behind this. He saw that B spotted his second TC, so he's like, B is probably going to go for a third TC now that he saw mine. I'm going to go for a third TC as well. And that's what it's going to be. All right. I enjoy these little mind games that are coming out here right now between these players. That is very interesting. In before they scout it again, and they're going to go for 4 TC each.
Yeah, the only thing I will say is that this actually makes French have some difficult transition points. One, they're spending a lot more of food on these villagers. Yes, they're going to be producing a lot more, but they cost a lot. Second is they're going to be depleting their food resources a lot, and they have a much more difficult time transitioning to farms if ABBA ends up going up to castle with the economic wing too.
Yeah, this is going to be rough. I mean, Abba said if they go up with the Eco Wing, as he said, their farms are going to be very, very cheap. It's like almost like having the English bonus as a technology for your farms. You save a lot of wood, not just on your farms, but on all eco buildings after that. Not like there's a lot of eco buildings since the TCs have already been built, but still every single house counts towards that. And having cheaper houses, especially when you want to spam buildings for Golden Age, definitely helps a lot.
But Mista's TC just now finishing on up. He already has that Vil lead by just 1, but as we talked about earlier, it's going to be pretty profound because they are on equal TC numbers, but his TCs just work a hell of a lot harder.
Yeah. And so though, it's a lot of upkeep, right? It's a lot of upkeep. So usually a single TC for normal, for like other civilizations, don't want to say normal, don't want to be too rude here, but like for other civilizations, a TC requires 150 food per minute just in upkeep, just in order to be able to constantly produce villagers out of it. For the French, it's more like 200 food per minute. So instead of 150, it's like 200. It does make a pretty big difference. Meanwhile, for B, as he's playing the Ambassador, he has access to fresh foodstuffs. It is much less for him. It's less than 100 per TC in terms of upkeep. So he's only paying half the food in order to have constant uptime on his town centers. And we see that paying off with a very fast castle age timing here by comparison. And we do see the economic win coming in for him just now.
Yeah, we'll make that transition to farms later in the game easier. And more importantly, though, that he's clicked this age up quite a bit earlier than the French. So even though French is going to be able to fast build theirs, the timing is going to be somewhat even, and B should have a big bank once his finishes too.
Yeah, Mista's doing the right thing here. He is starting to wall up. That is very important when your opponent reaches the next age faster than you. You do want to have walls, because if your walls, like if your base is exposed as soon as age up hits, and the enemy is just able to flood units into your base, you're gonna be as out of luck there, pretty much. Now we see a guild hall coming in, so Mista, he's getting ready for like a long game here. And he can make it a long game. If he gets like the arbalry out, I don't think that even the OP composite bows can really do something here. He's just being annoying right now on the gold.
Yeah, I mean, that makes B have less of this huge bank once the age up happens. It only takes a little bit of damage on that initial night. And the guild hall going to be coming through before the economic wing finishes, I think.
Yeah, that guild hall, yeah, the timing is actually very similar here. That's pretty incredible.
Horseman trying to chase down that knight, and Archer coming around with it, and B pumping heavy into those composite bow archers.
Yeah, as he should. I mean, the composite bows are like the main unit here to have.
Yeah, you'll get to a point that with ABBA where, yeah, there might be some Royal Knights on the other side, but if you have 40 composite bows, they can't really dive on top of your archer ball at that point. So, B obviously wants to end up getting to that point, can be able to do so, and all of the eco techs being invested into for Mista right through that age up too.
Yeah, he's getting the big bonus right now for the French, so all of these eco techs are a lot cheaper than they are for other civilizations, meaning that he can just grab all of them straight away as soon as he reaches age up, and it's not going to be too big of a hit resource-wise for him. Composite bows is now being researched, and we do see the beginning of the arbitrary queue right now for Mista as well, so arbitrary are going to be the name of the game here. The only real counter to ARBs is Siege.
Well, good thing for 3DB is he is ABBA, and he can end up just building that siege on the field.
Exactly. So, yeah, it's going to be difficult for sure to... I mean, with the siege push, it's going to be difficult for French to hold that, especially since Mista also has a good chunk of archers out on the field. But it looks like he's getting the horseman upgrade right now as well, so maybe he can just get himself into a position where he can just constantly keep B inside of his own base just by sheer horseman rates alone.
And it looks like B is wanting to drop the first keep of the game. The big question is where is this first keep going to go down?
On the production?
Oh,
very likely.
B, not Mista.
Oh.
Mista,
Mista,
Mista will be too, but B already has the resources to do so. But yeah, French definitely 100% first keep on the production, wants to make those ARBs, wants to make those knights, if he is continuing knights, much cheaper. And there is the first keep from B, securing the 8k gold vein and somewhat the sacred site.
Pretty much, yeah. Something that's interesting, or I'm looking at the minimap right now. Is the cliff open for Mista on Mista's side? Like, is his base still...
dead center?
Yeah.
Oh, it kind of looks
no,
open.
it's not open. The way the units path right there, they went through the gate instead of through it. I don't think it's open.
Okay, yeah. It looks like it barely... I can't tell. That bottom looks like there's a bottom little line of rocks that, like, the most, like, smallest pebbles are stopping them.
For Mista's sake, let's hope it's closed.
Yeah, it looks like it's connected.
Yeah. Mista behind it, he is getting the relic that was in the very center, and with that might allow him to go for 3 relics here. B actually doesn't have a single Imam yet out on the field. He's just massing units right now. Not too much going on there for now in terms of aggression. Looks like Mista has now started horseman production as well. I do think... Yeah, he already invested into one of the keeps, so he does have a keep, or is going to have a keep in the middle of his production now. There it is, it's going up right now. So with that, all of his units are going to be heavily discounted. Wait, he has the guild hall on food right now.
So I'll see this a lot of times for French. They'll have it on food first, and they'll have this gold reserve like he does, and they'll literally just click up to castle. Or not to castle, to Imperial at some point in the game.
Yeah.
And then after that, they have the Red Palace. It secures their whole base, secures their defenses, and then now they're swapping it to the resources they're going to start running low on.
That is true. That could very much be the play here. And I mean, if there's a Red Palace coming out, I don't see any way for B to push fast. He could only push slowly with trebuchets. A quick push would not be happening anymore with the Red Palace in placement. That's just how good it is.
Oh, wait. Are they about to run through?
Nah, he can't. He can't, right? He can't.
He tried.
It's close. It is close. Yeah, he definitely tried. He went really close just to make sure that he can't.
Oh,
that was scary.
When he started running that way, I was like, oh no, he realized there's a hole.
All right. It looks like B is starting to also try to take control over the other big gold mine here. He's placing an outpost to get some line of sight, also gets the berries there for resource income. Mista, he's still making units, but not nearly as many units as B is making right now. He's putting up a couple more keeps. And yeah, with the resource bank, like with the guild hall, it might very well be the case that he just rushes up a Red Palace somewhere, potentially even close to the other large gold mine right now. Just in order to, Yeah, like all the military is on this one side of the map, right? So if he rushes that up with like 30 villagers, there's nothing really that he could do against that.
Yeah, it does look like B's trying to kind of start this chokehold. Like, Mista walled himself in, and B's trying to close this out. Starting to dive past that keep. Has a huge amount of military. There's the Mangonel, though. Does he notice the Mangonel first? Immediately dives onto it with the Knights.
It's going in too deep. Oh, now it still lives. And B has to retreat. Can't kill the Mangonel immediately, has to retreat. You cannot risk, with that many archers, taking a Mangonel shot.
Yep, you gotta have Springled out now, and at this point with that keep positioning, it might actually just be that perfect delay, and oh
there it is.
There it is. The fast Imperial Age from that. I'm assuming he grabbed the guild hall and then utilized that on up.
Yeah, I think so too. But now he still has resource for more keeps, right? And as soon as that comes in, all of these units right now that B has here, they're not going to be able to do anything. They're not going to be able to do anything. He can't do a thing. It's Red Palace keeps. He's trying to get some raids in now, but Mista with the faster TCs already has a good villager lead for now, so he can afford losing some villagers. It's never nice, but he can afford it. Age-up has come in, and with that, these raids aren't really going to achieve anything. Look at that. The Knights melting, the Archers melting. One Arbalest shot can pretty much kill one of these Archers completely.
Yeah, and
Look
you
at
can
they're just falling like flies.
B's numbers just collapsing after that. He put so much investment into this military, just doesn't have that timing. I just saw Mista dropping a 4th TC at 127 villagers. Yes, don't question it. It makes sense.
Yes. I mean, you just use the TCs as like makeshift keeps now.
Yep, just backside of. Oh my gosh! Well, you said you can't ever look away. You have to respect the Mangonel fire, and there's still not Springled out to counteract these Mangonel fires, and those archers are not as healthy as they were a second ago.
Yeah, all of these archers now are very, very weak, and B has to be careful with it. Now he's going up with the trade wing behind all of this. He's also grabbing some armor upgrades for his camel, so we might be seeing a switch into a more camel-based army here. Definitely makes sense, because Mista is investing a lot right now into horsemen.
And there's a 5th TC coming down for Mista. I don't know if he thinks he's HRE, thinking he can have like emergency repairs over there, but you know, I guess it's one of those that whenever villagers die, he's just going to be like, all right, look, I can just make more of them because I got plenty of eco. He's sitting at 133.
Good news, if ever he loses 100 villagers, he can remake those in just 2 minutes.
Royal Bloodlines coming through now. That is the scary, scary upgrade that everyone who is facing French hates to see.
And right now, I mean, B, he's kind of stuck, right? He's 200 out of 200 pop, but he cannot push anywhere. He needs trebuchets if he wants to push against any of these Red Palace keeps, and you can't make trebuchets if you're completely pop-capped. He needs to actually delete some units or lose them somehow here. And it looks like Mista is helping him with that here very soon.
Yeah, one way to lose him is just take a dive. No, he just left his Mangonel out to dry, and the double Mangonel fire on the other side.
That is... Goodbye, archers. Goodbye, archers. All of them are going to go down here. Yeah. Wow.
It was a good first split to not take as much damage, but Mista just closing the gap, has too much cavalry, and a lot of those archers are just 1 to 2 taps after the mango shots, and just becomes so easy for Mista to close out the numbers here.
Now, Mista's base is impossible to raid. B's base, not so much. B's base is an open book right now. Now he has almost 3,000 stone in the bank. He's gonna need to drop some keeps. He needs to drop them fast in his base, because those horsemen are just gonna run right through there.
Yeah, he still has walls up, but those walls, they won't last too long with that many horsemen. Just gonna torch right through them, open up multiple different holes, and path all into the eco.
You know, initially I was scheduled to play against Mista Day instead of Anaton. I'm glad that that wasn't the case looking at this right now.
Yeah, I mean, he is looking pretty solid, pretty clean. If you had to say, hey, how many games do you think Mista's played in the past, year or 10 months? Probably not that many compared to some of these other guys, but he is looking clean as could be.
Yeah, I saw him practice quite a bit with players like Matisse, for example. Looks like the practice really paid off.
Yeah, he always has talked about, though, like, he's one of those players that, like, he doesn't always have to be practicing the game, because when he's working, he's farming, he's thinking about the game. He's mentally playing the game. It's almost like, you know, you see those players play mental chess. It's like, well, he's playing mental AoE 4 over here.
There we go. Wall has been destroyed. Now, Mr. can just dive through. Right into the eco. Stone walls are going up. Looks like B spent all of the stone that he did manage to accrue here. But the keeps, these aren't Red Palace keeps. They tickle. They don't do damage. They might as well not be there.
Yeah, Camel's doing a great job giving that Camel debuff aura to those horsemen. Not really a scary unit unless they're on top of your villagers. If they're fighting your military, you are all good with it.
Mista's now investing a lot into Camel Riders, which I don't dislike. Camel Riders have been buffed cost-wise. They cost a lot less gold now after the buffs than they used to before. So it's a pretty cheap unit to pump out, and he's making that alongside hand cannoneers. And that is a very good unit composition right now against what Mr. has. He just needs to get rid of the mangonels, and one of the mangonels looks to be going down here relatively soon. TheMista being deployed, but there's not too much range damage right now in the army from B.
Mista dropping another forward keep. Mangonel still firing out this whole time, and more importantly, all of those arbs are just sitting in the backside untouched, just shooting down those flaming bolts.
Ah, it's a Red Palace keep. That is never going to go down unless they're trebuchets. We see now B going for Culverin as well. There's no siege left, so it doesn't really make a lot of sense for him now to go for that. There are actually cannons coming out from Mista, so maybe it's just against that. But with the Red Palace keep here, this hold is securely secured. Securely secured for Mista. The Red Palace keep, it's just so good. I'll say Red Palace is in need of a nerf. I'll say it.
I remember when that first change came out, I actually think it was Mattis who started it and messed around with like the 4TC fast imp, and it's just like, yeah, if your TCs are ARBs, they're basically military units over there.
Yeah, I remember talking with Corvinus and we both agreed, yeah, it's completely fucking broken, and it's been like that for a while now. And
that's a 6 TC for Mista?
That's a forward keep. That's not a TC. That is a forward keep. Like the normal keep damage, it's so low. It is very low. You only want the Red Palace in placement, so you just build TCs because they cost less stone.
It's so great. He's just, you know, utilizing it to its truest effect, and if it needs to make villagers, it can. But who really cares? It's that extra ARB shots.
He's not even able to take the cannon down. Now Culverin goes down, and there's still a lot of Arbalistry remaining here. And now the TC is also shooting its Arbalist shot right now. And yeah, B cannot defend, cannot hold his own base. And with that, he also pretty much cannot trade, right? This is in line with the trade route that he has. So, yeah, just what can he do? Another keep! And it's the guild hall. It's the curse of the guild hall. It's 10 town centers, full stone walls, 1 million keeps, and all of these keeps do more damage than 2 Chinese keeps combined.
And B can't do anything about it. He's got 150 eco. He's got plenty of eco. He just doesn't have the resources, doesn't have the military, and can't stop this push from Mista.
I'll say it right now. French is the strongest late game civilization right now in the game. And I'm not the only one that thinks that at the moment, which is kind of insane thinking about that when we memed about French being really weak like just a season ago.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy. Even hearing that now, it's crazy.
It's crazy till it happens, and there we go. Another keep goes up, and with that, 10 more tile radius completely secured. Nothing can get by. And another, yeah, let's go. Another TC. All of these farms are now gonna be gone with that TC going up there. And what can you do? What can you do? You can't raid. You can't beat the main army because they're always fighting under the keeps. You can't kill the keeps. You're dead.
You are dead indeed, and leave it to the Mista, you know. TC rushing people with Red Palace. Or not really rushing, but TC dropping people with Red Palace, and B is getting it handed to him in a fashion that I feel like he's usually the one TC dropping people.
And now, first landmark goes down. Abbasid only having 2 landmarks. GG gets called. B, 2 games behind now. And man, French are a different kind of beast, I must say.
What an exciting game, though. Again, one that kind of didn't know how it was going to play out. Mid-game, it was, I think it was actually like the 18-minute point in that game, and like neither player had really lost many units, if any. And then all of a sudden, you just start to see everything unfold.
Exactly, and there we go. I mean, village account pretty much even there the entire time, but one side can raid, the other just kind of cannot push into the opponent's base. He just really lost momentum when he lost his big archer ball.
Oh yeah, I mean he felt like he needed to do something.
Look at that.
Oh my gosh.
That graph suddenly, yeah, that's a mango shot. That's a mango shot if you've ever seen one. Jesus, wow.
Yeah, and that's where like B felt like he had to do something with the Imperial Age timing. He pushed in. He still had a good amount of military, and then when he went imp, it was all but over.
Exactly. That was just a really fast imp timing as well, though. Like, without even making too many use, just straight going for imp, not even taking the fight. Just go imp, and you know that you're fine behind your keeps and your TCs. And yeah, that is game number 2, going the way of TheMista. And here we go. It's next up, Frisian Marshes, and we're not going to be seeing Mongols here. We're actually going to be seeing French here from B. And TheMista is going to be the one that picks Rus here. Rus being open here, so... Wow. All right. Interesting.
I like it. It was still 2 of the 4 civs that we expect, but you know, it's one that maybe B knew that Rus was open. He kind of knew that Mista was probably going to pick Rus, and so him picking Mongols might not have been the smartest play, considering not really much to tower rush and not really much you're taking.
Yeah, I agree. I think French, especially on a map like Frisian Marshes, if it gets to late game here, B can pretty much do the exact same thing that Mista just did to him, except that he can have another win condition with the 2 sacred signs, which are fairly close to each other here on Frisian Marshes. So being able to secure those with Red Palace and Red Palace keeps, TCs, all the goodies that the Red Palace provides, can give you a really big benefit there. Oh my god. Holy Roman States of America coming in with 20 gifted subs. There were a lot of gifted subs here during that last game. Thank you all so much. Thank you all for supporting EGCTV and the Age of Empires 4 scene. We've cracked the 700 mark today, which is quite impressive. So thank you all for the support. Keep it coming. It is all very much appreciated.
Yeah, the support is definitely out and showing today. Appreciate all those subs coming through. Keep the hype up. Keep the hype going. And I get it. These are hype games we're watching, so why not be supporting?
Exactly. All right.
Mista got a tier 1. Thank God.
It had to happen, right? It had to happen. Somebody had to do it.
Okay, I see a couple people asking why so many TCs in the chat. So that is where the Red Palace has an ability that once you finish it, your TCs now basically are ARBs rather than the little, pellets that they fire out.
Yeah, they do 60 damage with each shot. That does actually get improved by the blacksmith upgrades, and I think also it gets improved by the incendiary upgrade from the university. So I think it goes up to like 68, 69 damage. Nice, which is quite a lot.
Yeah, it's just nuts. I mean, it's just killing all of those premium units. You're like, oh, look, it's just a TC here late game. It's like, I'll just dive it with a couple knights, and then all of a sudden you look back and your knights aren't there anymore, and it's just the TC that killed it all.
Exactly. Just a little bit further away, our 3rd game of the day. And let's not forget, like, the game from Mista here earlier was really nice, but if there's another really strong player on French, it has to be B. We've seen B play French really clinically in his own unique style. And yeah, that is probably something that we might see here today again. Just a really clean B style with the French. Just making tons of units, not even going necessarily up to the castle age, but just having a ton of aggression in the feudal age. And I mean, it wouldn't be the first time that we've seen a game with like 2 knight civilization where B takes one of them, and 25 minutes later, both players are still in castle age with more than 100 knights out on the field. Wouldn't be the first time.
He loves that micro ability. I've seen him so many times where I'm like, oh, he's not gonna dive that. He's not gonna take that fight, and he does, and he can because of the micro that he is able to utilize. One thing that I'm interested to see is his early build that he chooses on Frisian Marshes, because he's usually the pioneer of that early deer opening, but you have shoreline fish, so I'm wondering if he's thinking about potentially maybe a shoreline fish opening.
Shoreline, yeah, I mean, going for the shoreline fish early, definitely really good. I mean, Mista is probably going to do that just because I don't think he's going to go for it immediate. Oh, you think B is going to immediately go for shoreline fish?
I mean, I was just thinking about something different B could do. I mean, it makes sense in a way.
I was thinking like with the second TC, which I think both players are going to go for.
Yeah, I think that actually is more viable.
Yeah.
Second TC is for sure. Better. Yeah, I mean, now that I think about it, because you're gonna want to secure the shoreline fish in the long term. It's less like his typical like dry Arabian maps where you take the deer and it's like once the deer are gone, you're not really needing to secure that location, so you fall back to your sheep or whatever. But we're gonna get to see these openings in just a bit. Frisian Marshes getting started, which is one of my favorite ones to observe and watch.
Yeah, overall, we've seen a lot of Frisian Marshes today. Quite excited to see how this one is going to go this time around. We see the first Frisian Marshes, I think, today, where there is no Mongols. So that's nice. I like the change of pace. I've had my share of Mongols on Frisian Marshes for the day. So
hey, there was one that didn't. There was one that didn't trade. So at least that was one plus about that game, right?
It was still weird.
It was definitely a weird one, to say the least. But no Mongols in this one. Won't have to worry about that. Doesn't mean there might not be trade, but I would still be jaw to the floor shocked if we did see some Chamber of Commerce that people keep loving to mention, but not as much this time.
I just want to say that, in my defense, we talked about a couple of times what French should do when they play against Mongols on Frisian Marshes. I heard recently that Core also had that matchup today, and he also fucked it up. So,
Louis didn't know there was a market.
What? Really?
That's what.
He might have. Really?
Yeah. That's what Nev said in the chat.
Oh no. Yeah, there's no market in the Conqueror's Cup version. Blade, this is your fault.
This is all Blade's fault.
Blade, you lost Louis the game here today. How can you live with yourself like that? I'm just kidding. Blade is probably happy about having denied trade inadvertently.
He's 100%. He's like one less person to trade. That is a victory for society over here.
Exactly. Yeah, he must be happy about that one. All right, our overlay should just about be initiated, and there we go. Just a little bit longer, little bit longer. This overlay takes a little bit longer to initiate than the previous ones. But then we should be in our game number 3. Surely soon. Any moment now.
Oh, there we go. We're all in it, ready to rock over here. 3DB in the eastern side in the color orange on French, and Mista in the north on Roos in the color blue.
I'm not quite sure what that was, but yeah, there we go. Our game number 3.
I have no idea. I'm wondering what it was too.
That's gonna be our Saturday. Oh, that emote is very fitting for that one. All right. Yeah, and here we go. Game number 3, Frisian Marshes, Roos against French, and I like that. I like that B. I know usually we're supposed to pick blue and red. I like that B managed to get us orange here.
Yeah.
Next time I'm gonna insist on teal.
And look at B, actually opens with a mill on the shoreline fish and goes with wheelbarrow. He's not going full shoreline fish, but he's going wheelbarrow opening, which is, you know, a cool change of pace here. Maybe not expecting any pressure out, as Roos typically goes for that 2 TC opening.
Yeah, exactly. So multiple scouts from both players. I mean, it makes sense for French to contest that with a second scout, since their scouts, like their villagers, building scouts from the main TC doesn't take as long as it does for other civilization. It's a little bit of idle time on the TC, and we do see that with B having one less villager out right now. But with the French TC, you're gonna catch up either way, so it doesn't really matter too much there.
Yeah. And the multiple scout opening, even if it weren't playing against Roos, you'll still see a lot of players open 2 scouts just because it's Frisian Marshes, and there are so many sheep that it ends up being worth it in the long run, typically.
Yeah. You get a lot of sheep on this map. Overall, Frisian Marshes has a ton of sheep. Sometimes you can get really unlucky, though, if your opponent gets your sheep as well. Then one side is like Omega stacked, and the other side is just kind of crying, but... It is like that. It is like that sometimes. That's the RNG of Age of Empires, right? There's no perfect spawn all the time, except if you're Marine Lord, but...
Oh yeah, it's kind of like those same similar sheep numbers to like Prairie, which I have like the same feeling is. It's like you're not surprised to see either player get like high in the teens. And so we're starting to see some of the bounty get counteracted, some of the bounty getting picked up, which is in abundance on this map.
Yeah, wolves now being picked up. We can play the Bet the Bounty game in a little bit. I think roughly around the 4-minute mark is where we want to play that game. I'm already gonna guess that Mista is gonna be on 265 bounty at 4 minutes.
Okay. I will go... Gosh. I'm going to go with 240.
What? We're getting cocked tonight, boys. It's Chamber of Commerce. Here we go.
Oh my God.
Busting it out.
It's the one game that we don't have like 20 people in chat saying like, oh, we need cock. Is it going to be cock? And it's like, oh, look, this time we get Chamber of Commerce. It's here. It is coming to play. And let's see if B can end up making this successful.
All right. Chat is really happy. We're getting cocked tonight, and Chamber of Commerce it is. B is also on the shoreline fish, so it is, as you said, he is going early on shoreline fish. This is... And what a game this is. This is match point for Mista, and he is going for Chamber of Commerce. Wow.
I mean,
wow.
It just takes some balls, and it's really cool because he already has Wheelbarrow finished as well. So right when it finishes, Trader's already going to be queued on up. It's not, they don't all pop out like the Trade Wing does for ABBA. So even if he had like Forestry teched up too, it wouldn't give him two. He has to wait for the traders to come, but it's still resources that he's not investing into that, if going unchecked, could be very, very dangerous.
It is sort of like with Mongols, right? Like you can't leave that unanswered. You kind of have to do something about it. And like you get the free market, you already have like the free traders coming out of it as well. So you don't even have to like let your opponent necessarily know what you went for, because you can still produce knights normally. It's not a big investment for you to just drop that stable and then produce knights as normal. You just get your eco upgrades and you live with the free traders, and behind that you just spam knights and you'll be fine. Speaking
of eco upgrades, look at B's queue up at the top. He already has Wheelbarrow finish, as we mentioned, so the trader's going to be coming out, and Forestry to follow. Fertilization, mining upgrade, specialized pick. He's got all of the upgrades coming in except for double broadaxe, but I'm sure that won't be too far to follow. Maybe wants to prioritize some knights coming soon.
I think I might have to make a readjustment. Mista doesn't even have Wheelbarrow right now. He's getting double broadaxe, he's getting the Spearman upgrade. Maybe his bounty isn't looking that good right now. I think now is the time for Vodka to quickly help us check the bounty. See what it's at right now.
I'm wondering, 240? Oh my gosh, 170?
That's not good. That is not ideal. That's like less than ideal.
That's like what, 2 deer camps and a wolf? Like, What happened? I know we saw Vodka showed us like 2 of B's scouts taking out wolves. So I was like, all right, there's 2 or 3 wolves denied, but I still expected him to pick up 2 others at least or something. But you know, it's definitely a struggling situation for our Roost player. Meanwhile, traders gonna start moving across the map for B. One's about to complete their it's about 3/4 of the way on the first route.
And there's a lot of free traders on their way right now in the market. And look at that. B is going for double stable archery range. He's not going to go for a second TC or anything like that. He's just going to let the cock speak for itself. And behind that, go for mass military.
And I mean, it makes sense. The way B plays French anyways is getting these eco techs right as he ages up. Mista scouts out the trade. He sees the trader. The knight's popping out though, and it's just like, what can you do to answer this? You can't just send your spears across. He's invested in a second TC, but that's a lot of resources, and B's essentially can 1 TC all in off of this if he wants, but that 1 TC is not the typical 1 TC.
Yeah, Mista has to be careful here. This could be a very, very difficult timing push to hold from B. Now, he is still playing as the Ruse. What comes with that is the ability to be incredibly defensive, right? You got that, the potential for the militia. You got the Kremlin, which is like an outpost on steroids. Pretty much a feudal age keep, one might say. It's very difficult to take down, and you have to be careful if you want to engage into that. I'm sure B has a plan for this one, how he wants to play it exactly. Just the question is going to be, is he going to be able to execute it against Mista's Ruse here? Mista right now, he's just making some spearmen. Now B, he already has an archer, and he's added another market. So he's going to be able to scale the trade quite nicely here. That's like adding another TC.
And I'm scared for Mista. Like, he's pushing out with 3 spears, but like B already has archers. He has vills that he can pull back away to the other one. Archers are going to arrive. 3 spears too. He can clean this up with his knights as well if he wants.
Yeah, and the spears just aren't going to be enough. B is going to be able to hold this one nicely, and Mista, he should realize right now that spears only is not going to work now. I think maybe something that Mista do is he can just go for a really, really big infantry ball now that he has that second TC. He's got a ton of...
Villager spotted out. He was trying to go for a wall off on the market, but I mean, it's just too far. This is one of those that, like you mentioned it the other time, that you're on the exact opposite side. It's way too far. And now we're seeing B going to start investing in the walls.
This makes sense, right? The trade is like your big economy. You want to defend it, and so walling for that, and the walls aren't even that expensive on this map because you can just wall from woodline to woodline to woodline. Now you have to be a little bit careful when it comes to the over chopping here. That still can happen. Over chopping, like chop through in general, can be really, really annoying. I'm quite surprised that that's still in the game. The over chop, like the chop through, seems kind of OP. Maybe they'll change it in the future. I'm personally
I don't mind it. I kind of like it.
You think it's good? I really dislike it. Like every time I'm getting chopped through, I'm like, no, not again. I'm dead, and then I surrender. But yeah, I personally wouldn't mind seeing it gone.
But look at the crazy thing right now. B way ahead in eco, military. In my eyes, I'd rather have B's military too. He's got 6 knights out. He's got 2 more in queue. He's pumping the archers out. He already scouts out the horsemen. I wouldn't even hate to see him drop 1 barracks and have a few spears just to help his archer blob and allow his knights to actually run around and do things.
Okay, looks like Mista is now going for a lot of stables, lots of additional stables. Okay, so I personally thought that he would go for his own archers, but he's going for horsemen. Now, the reason why I'm not a big fan of that is that horsemen fucking suck in fights.
Yeah.
They are clunky, their pathing, it sucks. When they run into knights, they die. I'm not a big fan of that.
Yeah, it's the one thing I will say about the horseman spear combo against specifically knight archer is there gets to a point in the game where Mista is the one who gets to dictate the fights. The horsemen have the mobility, so if it gets to a point where he thinks he can take it, he chases down the archers, and the knights, yes, they can charge, but the spears are right there to follow, and it becomes very difficult for him. Again, that gets to the point where B can easily add in some spears, but I think in my eyes, B's at the point where his eco's too strong already. He's got too much trade involved, so he's just gonna have the outclassed ability.
Yeah, B has a lot of these knights right now out in the field. Also has enough archers to pretty much one-shot the spearmen here. And now there we go. The knights, they just wipe the floor with the horsemen. The horsemen can't really do too much there. Also the pathing, yeah, we see it. It's a little bit clunky there. Archers are just able to squeeze by those knights. Archers just trying to pick off these spearmen. Once the spearmen are gone, the knights are just going to turn around and fight against the horsemen. There's not going to be too much trouble with that. There's still plenty of archers remaining. And now B's in a position to just take the fights. He has enough knights to just fight against the spearmen as well. And with that, the entire military here from Mista gets cleaned up. All of these weak knights as well, they're getting pulled back. And he's just going to heal him up. And with that, Mista actually just downright calls GG. There we go. All right.
I mean, I get it. There's no coming back from that. All those knights are alive. They're going to heal back up. And he's got full trade online. Look at that. B just showing the power of the cock and just dominating in the French versus Rus matchup.
Is cock too OP? We'll let chat decide. Let's take a look at the eco count. With that, we also see the traders being mixed in there as well. That's the military. Eco count. There we go. That's actually a lead for B, even with the second TC.
Yeah, and it's just a lead the whole time. And it's just like that many, like from the 5-minute mark until the 12-minute mark in the game ended, he's ahead in eco. And at some points by double digits, it looks like, which just means that many more units are pumping out that whole entire time.
Yeah, it made a big difference there. I'm just not a big fan of the horsemen. Horsemen in straight fights, they just aren't the knees beast, so to say. And yeah, it kind of showed there in that big fight. I mean, they did a good amount of damage to the archers, but the archers, they are able to still take down the spearmen while all of that happens. And now we go to game number 4, and it's gonna be Ottomans for B against Mista's English on regions.
Yeah, interesting matchup. This is one of those that, like, Ottomans usually starts with the military school against everyone. English being one of the civs that you don't usually opt for that military school opening against them. English, though, they kind of just do their own thing. They can dictate the pace of the game. They can wall themselves up and just chill and kind of force the opponent to try to do something because you got to stop English.
Yeah, I mean, English, you always feel the need to pressure them. You always feel the need to like keep them down, keep them low. Don't want to have them like mess up their numbers. If it gets to the late game, they got like the infinite gold, and it's very annoying to deal with. There's timings though that you can exploit, or there are still times that you can use against the English. Now, yeah. English though is probably like the main civ for Mista, or at least Mista is previously the most famous for his English play. B, also really good with Ottomans, though. We see, when B plays Ottomans, something that we see a lot of is a lot of Sapai. Like, we're not just talking about like 5 to 10 Sapai, like 20, 30 Sapai. That's the kind of numbers that B likes to put out on the field. Sapai, really good against longbows, and in that number, also good against feudal age men-at-arms. So, gonna be interesting to see what exactly B has in store here for us. From the Mista, I'm expecting mostly just normal meta English play, like you wall up your base, you build some farms, maybe some farms in the Dark Age even could potentially be the case. We've seen the build recently where you drop like 2 farms immediately as soon as the game begins. Definitely a lot of options here for him to go for.
Yeah, and I feel like that's the cool thing about English is like, yes, they're somewhat one-dimensional, but at the same time, they're not, because you can do so many different things. You can be feudally aggressive. You can Dark Age Villager Rush. You can Dark Age Men-at-Arms Rush. Just all these different things with the 2TC opening, or just playing wall up and get to Imperial game. But it's one of those that, like you said, you feel like you have to do something against them, but they're also one of the best defensive civilizations. So it's just kind of like that easy civ to do things with.
All right. Little challenge here. If we're getting to 1,000 support goal, by the end of the season, I'm going to try to reach Conqueror 3 with villagers on English only. villager rush only. No military, only English villagers, only on 1TC.
Wait. Only English villagers? Like you're not talking about like proxy council hall after. You're just talking about just straight up villager
No,
rush.
it's just gonna be dark. It's just gonna be outposts in with villagers. Nothing else. Just trying to keep my opponent in his base.
I mean, it'd be interesting to watch, that's for sure. I mean, I could see you winning quite a bit of games, but once you get against some of those Conk 3 people, it might be a little bit difficult to get all the way up there. So let's get some of those subs in here. Let's get some of those donos in there and try to hit that support goal.
All right. That's just going to be the challenge there. So let's keep it in mind. 1,000 support goal. That is equivalent to pretty much 150 subs from now. It's not undoable. It's not undoable. We could get there. We could get there. But until then, our game number 4 is just about to begin. Less than a minute left until we go into that. So, yeah, gonna be very exciting to see this one. English against Ottomans here from 2 of the GOATs of Age of Empires.
Yeah, and I mean, like we've already talked about Mista on the English, there's a couple games that immediately come to mind. One from way back, which I just remembered I think it was this Trebuchet landmark snipe when he was like completely out of the game, and one of those that probably got him to be one of the biggest fan favorites out there with it.
Exactly. All right. 5 seconds left. Our overlay is about to be initiated, and then we go into our next game. After that one, there's only one map left. It's going to be Prairie. Okay, never mind. Our overlay might still need a little bit of time. So, yeah. What else can we talk about? Oh, yeah, right. EGC, support goal. Call to arms community support goal. Bottom right-hand side. If you still have your Twitch Prime lying around, now is the time to use it. You support not just EGCTV, you support us, the casters, as well as the entire Age of Empires 4 tournament community. Very much appreciated if you leave your Twitch Prime on EGCTV.
Yeah, exactly. Last time Crackedy made the caster bed, he was the last one the Mongols season, or I felt like there was another one too.
Yeah, I think there was another one as well. There's been a lot of caster bed seasons that we've had. So, oh yeah, it was the Minework Archers only.
Oh yeah, that's what it was. But enough of that. We're into game number 4. Mista's up 2-1, and he is starting with the Dark Age Barracks. He's men-at-arms opening against B on the Ottomans.
Yeah, and B, he's not gonna go for that early military school, so he doesn't have anything immediately to defend against that. And his gold is also not far in the back. It's a little bit to the side, and B is getting beelined by Mr. Scout. So Mr. is gonna, yeah, it had to be. Mr. is going straight for the base of B to find out where that gold is. But B, he spotted the barracks. He went for it. He also went for the beeline, and now he's dropping his own barracks as a counter to that. All right. Okay. Interesting approach here. Mr. does spot that the wood line is in the back as well, so now he should know that the gold is gonna be on the side of B. Honestly, if I was Mr., I just wouldn't even produce a single man-at-arm now and just go for like the kind of mind games and play for feudal age. Instead, he decides to go into 2 men-at-arms early on here in this game.
Yeah,
he already has 2 villagers on gold though, so he should have enough to go to feudal.
Yeah, I feel like the 2 men-at-arms was kind of like the typical when you do this opening play. You kind of use the first one to deny off the gold and the second one to prep the secondary location, whatever that location may be. But B's already going to be pumping those spears. We did talk about the men-at-arms not being the OP opener that they used to be due to the 1 armor nerf that they had, and the first spear already deterring the men-at-arms.
Yeah, but Mr. isn't stopping after a second one. He's going for a 3rd man-at-arms now as well. He's somewhat committing to this early on in the game.
Yeah, maybe just sees the spear investment and thinks that it'll end up being worth it, but both men-at-arms now are headed back on away and took a good bit of damage without actually getting anything in return.
I think that was just a misclick. Yeah, now it's going forward again. There's no reason for the others to return. I think he just wants to group up and then go forward again. Yeah, that has to be the plan here. Like you invested into it, you gotta go more. He's making more.
He's just full committing into this play. Okay, I mean I'm all here for it. You gotta respect it, and if B doesn't continue to produce these spearmen, he will get full denied off of those outside resources. But look at the gold in the bank already. He doesn't need the outside resource anymore.
Yeah, it's as Mirius said, like Mr. is using his game buffer that he has with those first 2 games that he managed to take from B to just go all out with the experiments here. He's got 4 men at arms right now in Dark Age. Now B, as I said, doesn't need any more gold here, but the men at arms still provide a little bit of pressure, give the map control over to Mr. Question is, what's he gonna make out of this in Feudal Age?
Yeah, I mean, that's the weird follow-up is your men-at-arms, like, if they're not really getting a bunch of damage down, yes, they're a good unit in, like, Castle once you get Armor Chad, but the Sipahi take them down pretty effectively once those start pumping, which B is sure to start doing.
Wait a second. Here's something that I've done before on ladder play in, like, high elo. It's now if Mr. just goes for an Abbey and he just continues to spam men-at-arms, like, continues, and once he's at, like, 20, 30 men-at-arms, until then, he just prods from all the sides. When he's at like 20, 30 men arms, he just goes all in. He just runs them in because with the Vanguard upgrade on the men at arms, when they get to early
spreading the deer.
Oh, he's being cheekier. Yeah, he's doing the move Marino made there earlier. Just deer laming in general. He's not spraying them as far as Marino did earlier, but that would have just been disgusting. Like that was a disgusting spread. But it's not going to be the Abbey of Kings here. It's going to be the Council Hall. And yep, Spearmen leave, and he just goes back to having them lure the deer away once again.
Yeah, and he actually got a good amount of damage down on those spearmen without a ton of return. Like, yeah, he has 1 minute arms at half health, but I'm pretty sure 3 of those spears are now very easily killable, and deer are about a screen's length away from each other.
Yeah, not a TC isn't going to bridge the distance between those, and yeah, with that, okay, B is going to be the first one to reach the Feudal Age now. Mr. actually not too far behind, considering that he did invest a lot into his mid-arms, and now actually can contest the stone mine here from B, and that's going to be really, really annoying for B now. He does want that stone, he does want to get additional military schools out, but he's going to have to be so careful with those men-at-arms just being there. He's just going to...
Has he gotten the hardened upgrade? I don't think he has enough gold for the hardened upgrade.
On the yeah, he's missing 12 gold. He actually sent a single villager out there, but that single villager is going to need 2 trips for that. Okay, now he sends a second one, then he can get the hardened upgrade.
Yeah, just needs that hardened upgrade before he can even think about taking this fight. But by that time, now Council Hall's about to be finished done, and then longbows are going to start streaming.
Longbows immediately in the queue. There we go. 5 man-at-arms on the field. Now the longbows come in as well. B actually going for... Oh no, B now going for the imams. He's going to be able to heal his units, yes. But once the longbows arrive, those imams can be sniped very easily.
Yeah, I guess he's just kind of the good ability for these imams is how efficient they get immediately. Like their payoff is so quick because now all his 6 spears are full health again. He can kind of trade off against these men-at-arms as long as he doesn't lose his spears, and this is super effective for him. But not having that meter pop out with that move speed at the start is definitely a drawback because he needs that for his archer mass.
Now, what B would want to do against this is add supplies, but the thing is, Mr. already has a stable now, his barracks out, so he can very easily just pop out a couple of spearmen as well. B is gonna need a big archer mass here soon.
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm thinking. It's my assumption's the typical transition into double archery range, and then you're still pumping some Sipahi to be that front line and just try to match up that English numbers, and he will have that second Vizier point to get the meta upgrade as well.
Yeah, meta is also very, very important when you play against the English. That +1 defense on the ranged armor completely negates the bonus attack damage that the English longbowmen get, and it does help a lot in these fights. I have to be very careful though about the meta getting that 1 snipe, just because the longbows also have 2 additional tiles of range compared to normal archers.
Yep, that first Sipahi starting to run on across, but not a fight that he wants to take. Already gets put down to half health, although can be pulled back and healed up by those imams.
Yeah, as long as he doesn't lose a unit, it's always value gain for him. The Imam's making great use of them. There we go. Double archery ranges getting dropped. There is no double broadaxe out there yet for him. He does have 4 villagers on gold, so he's getting the military upgrades first probably, and then hopefully he's getting double broadaxe as soon as possible. It's a very important upgrade to have for your woodlines, especially when you want to make archers. Having double broadaxe is just a must-have very early on, and we see Mista going for it right now.
Yeah, playing the English, it's one of the upgrades that I always prioritize. It's actually double broadaxe and then wheelbarrow in my eyes playing them. And Mista finishing up that double broadaxe and already has a full set of farms behind this, so has invested into his long-term food economy.
Yeah, good economy with the English. That's pretty much default that you get with those cheap farms that also work quite a bit faster. And his military also looking good. And behind this, the question is, what's he going to go for next? I mean, he doesn't necessarily need to kill his opponent. Just as the game goes on, English is automatically a little bit ahead, especially once they get to Castle Age, they get that free second TC. And then they can just continue scaling better than the Ottomans. And the Ottoman death push usually isn't too scary for the English because they get that really, really strong defensive bonuses.
Yeah, it makes it a lot easier, especially because they can scout it out, they can poke down a lot of times and thin out that Ottoman unit mass before it gets too dangerous, because longbows just massing up at home can be the deterrent.
Yeah, and right now, Mista is just staying there in the middle of the map, which is somewhat dangerous because he literally just sent a spy behind him.
He's about to circle. If he can mass up enough at home, he could easily circle and close out on this group. But I think Mista knows that, needs to just draw back and head on home.
It doesn't look like he's moving out. Oh, Scout might potentially get sniped here by the Lombos. Maybe not. Spy move in, get blocked though by the men-at-arms. Move back, but all the damage that the Spy take is easily just healed up by the Imam set up back in the base of B. And now B is just spamming out some archers, but Mista looks to be on his way up to Castle Age soon here.
Yeah, he is more than halfway there on the food count. He's got more than enough gold already, so should be seeing that click up. And the question is will B be able to punish it? He has that mass at home, hasn't moved out with his archers, hasn't moved out with his meta yet.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, meta, everything is still at home for B, and he really wants to do damage soon because Mista is about to click up to the next age, and when he does, he's just going to pull his army back. B is not gonna see it really coming, and suddenly his opponent is gonna be Castle Age.
Yeah, getting that tech advantage, those men-at-arms all of a sudden could become armor chads, and all of the base at home, you can already see Mista planning on walls to make this push become even harder.
And there we go. King's Palace is now being placed. Where is it? It's directly in the woodline. That's a perfect placement there for the King's Palace. It doesn't really protect anything, but it just fits in the woodline. That just fits right in there. That's a beautiful King's Palace there in that woodline.
You say it doesn't protect anything, but it protects the woodline, which is what English wants to be on and needs to help protect, at least for the time being. Sipahi, though, moving forward. Archers moving forward. Could this be the timing push? King's Palace is only halfway up, so it'll be a good bit of time before any upgrades and things can come through.
There's a lot of Sipahi out on the field, and we talked about earlier, B likes to mass the Sipahi, and there's 11 out on the field already. The question is he going to be able to push into the base of Mista here? He's going to feel like he has to, because now the H-up is going to be coming in. Any second now he's going to hear the H-up sound. There we go. New H begins. And the meta isn't there yet. Where's the meta?
The meta pulled back. I think he didn't want it to get sniped down by the longbows, but this is a huge amount of DPS that's missing.
It is, and actually Spy gets a little bit trapped in there. He is causing idle time, but it doesn't feel worth it. He is actually killing all of the longbowmen right now, and there's not a lot of production for Mista. Mista doesn't have a lot of resource in the bank right now.
Both of the Imams die.
And now the upgrade, the Castle Age upgrade for the Men-at-Arms is through, and he has enough for the Armor-Clad upgrade as well. These Men-at-Arms are going to be very tough to kill once that comes in.
Yeah.
B retreats.
B has to retreat. Sipahi's still alive, though. Might be able to circle around, poke, and prod at the farms a little bit more. Not really allow Mista's mass to push forward, but 9 Men-at-Arms, if those head towards B's eco, could cause a ton of damage. But first, he's got bigger problems at home.
Sipahi are just passing there. B is actually able to somewhat thin out the men-at-arms a little bit here for now with this feudal age army, but it's very dangerous. He can't really take any straight up fights here. And these Sipahi are all really low HP. Lots of them just went down there. Now he barely has any Sipahi left. More coming in as reinforcements, but these aren't good fights for him to take. Not at all. He barely has any damage to these men-at-arms with their +2 armor. They have 6 armor right now.
Yeah, still just needs to stall out as long as possible. Mista hasn't really been able to get back onto gold, hasn't been able to secure up that mine for quite some time, so these men-at-arms that get taken down are harder to resecure, and Castle Age upgrades not the easiest to make either.
Yeah, but the archers, they're just not doing any damage. It feels like they really aren't doing any damage. The health bars just aren't even moving when an entire volley hits on them, and for now, the archers are able to somewhat kite against this, but it still is very, very annoying right now for B to deal with. He needs to invest a lot of APM into that. Meanwhile, for Mista, this is just one big A move, and now he's able to be back on food. He's going to be able to reproduce more men-at-arms, and worst case, he just goes on to another gold. There's still another gold a little bit to the right, which isn't immediately in the vicinity of B's army that he could go for. But now he has the map control again in the front, and he's just going to be able to remass men-at-arms. He can also just keep 2 men-at-arms on the archers, keep the rest following the Sipahi. Looks like B is really desperately trying to completely deny the gold here, but it's so tough right now for him to do so. He's also edging somewhat towards Castle Age himself, but just taking him quite a bit right now.
Yeah, as long as he keeps those men-at-arms on the other side of the map and not in his eco, he still has a chance, but I think Mista is about to start getting to the point where he can split off a few, as that number is climbing pretty fast for him.
Yeah, B right now is just circling around. He's getting a good bunch of villager kills every now and then, and I mean, looking at the economy right now, Mista on 38 villagers, B on 49, and yeah, as long as he's able to keep the army at bay, he's not in a bad position, and he's actually just remassing his army. He's investing more into Spy now, once again. I'm not sure if that's a great player. I think, personally, I just want to go up to next age as soon as possible, get some crossbows out in order to deal with these men-at-arms, or knights. Or maybe something that he could do. He just did it! Janissaries!
Oh my, Janissaries, 8 pop out. He's got a huge amount of support coming forward now. And now the Sipahi have pushed towards the base. They've split off the other men-at-arms, which means they get to at least thin out the reinforcing ones. Castle Age is on its way. And B has to respect the mass back at his base, so Mista has to respect B's mass at his base, so he pulls back.
The Istanbul Imperial Palace as well, something that we don't see too often. And he once again spreading out his units, making sure that his Janissaries aren't going to be the main focus here.
And now that the Janissaries are here, they're shredding.
Big damage coming out on these men-at-arms. Longbows trying to do some damage on the Janissaries, but Sipahi immediately on them. And this could potentially be looking rough now for Mista. B still has a very good army out on the field. And with the Ottomans, it's just going to get more and more.
Couple longbows here. They will help deal with those Janissaries, as the Janissaries not the highest range and get taken out so quickly by longbows.
Yeah, has to be careful with that. In theory, if he just circles around with Spy again, he could kill all of the longbows pretty quickly. Doesn't choose to do so right now. He's just running away from the men-at-arms with them. Not sure what exactly he's planning to do with those Sipahi on site. I feel like he can just circle around and kill the longbows right now. And now Mista once again retreats back to his base. He's still in a fine position right now. He still has a chance to reboom with his second TC that he gets as a landmark. But still, B so far, he has taken some pretty good trades. This looked abysmal there for him for a moment, but now it's starting to look better.
Yeah, looking a lot better. He's stabilized. He's up to Castle Age. He's about to get all of these Castle Age upgrades starting to come through in just a little bit once he gets the gold to do so. And military schools can now start pumping more premium units.
Yeah, more premium units, and he's also able to make some knights. And knights right now counter everything that Mista has out in his field. Mista is going to have to make some more barracks. He's going to have to probably drop another archery range just in order to be able to produce enough. And just get more units out on the field, because if you lose one big fight against the Ottomans, you can be dead because the Ottomans' army is just gonna keep coming and coming, and yeah, it's looking rough right now. And actually, B, he's getting a lot of gold right now. He's mining a lot, so this makes me think that it's gonna be a lot of knights coming out from him.
Yeah, he wants to get a ton of upgrades through, a ton of high class premium units out. That's so hard for Mista to deal with. And currently, Mista doesn't have a unit that deals with knights at all, really.
He doesn't even have any blacksmith upgrades right now. He's only just now getting veterancy on his longbows. That doesn't help a lot when your longbows still don't have any pierce damage upgrades. This longbow is still only going to be doing... Wait, is it... No, it's going to be 7 damage that the longbows are going to be doing, right? 7, 5, and then it's 2? Yeah, no. Is it 8? I think, yeah, longbows are going to be doing 8 damage for veterancy.
Yeah, and that's basically negligible when we think about how many knights B's about to start sending across the map. First ones get through, kill a villager trying to finish up a wall. Some of these farms might be going idle, and all this time the key is B. His eco's untouched. He's totally at bay. All his APMs in military.
Yeah, and he can also make great use of these additional resources that are out on the map here. There's a lot of food on the sides and the corners, and behind all of this, he has more villagers right now than Mista, and that's just because he was able to disrupt him for such a long time, the food economy. Mista just wasn't able to produce any villagers. There was a lot of downtime there on those TCs, and yeah, it's kind of rough to deal for him with it right now. 6 knights on the field right now, even more in queue, and it looks like it's going to be a mainly cavalry-focused army here coming out from B.
Yeah, and I mean, that works perfectly right because Mista has nothing to counter out the cavalry. He's just now transitioning into a few crossbows which will help against the knights, but Sipahi can still obliterate it.
Yeah, exactly. So military mass still building here for Mista, so he is still pumping out military the entire time. Military count somewhat even right now. With the defensive bonus, he could probably still hold this, and let's not forget the armor clad upgrade is still very, very strong here for him. But the knight count is rising, and looking at the army value, that is a significant lead here for B.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be tough to hold if he does. I feel like this is one where Ottomans just can keep streaming across, and more importantly is Mista's going to start running out of resources at home. The gold is looking pretty thin. He does have that other gold vein to the right side, but I wouldn't be too surprised to see B starting to drop a keep, planning on a keep for some map control potentially later.
He doesn't have any stone for it now. I think he actually only got enough stone for like a second TC. So with that, he's actually going to be able to keep scaling just like Mista is going to be able to keep scaling with his second TC that he gets as a landmark. And yeah, with that, he doesn't have to be too afraid of a longer game. Only important part is that B, he has to know that he has to finish this one up with a big push in Castle Age. If this gets to Imperial Age and there's the infinite gold for the English, if the game drags out long, and you can definitely make the game drag out long with the English, he could be in a really, really rough spot then.
There it is. The gold runs out. B moves heavy onto the stone and gets textiles. That's making me think a keep here, but only time can end up telling. He has a huge amount of army value out on the map. He hasn't done anything with it. He's kind of holding it back, waiting for that death push like you were talking about.
Yeah, B also just needs to get the relics right now. I think if B gets all of the relics out on the map, he's going to be in a really amazing position, even against the English. Having an extra 400 gold per minute against English is really, really huge and valuable. Especially on a map like this, where there's only finite gold and there's no neutral market. No neutral market already hurts the Ottomans quite badly, considering that their trade landmark pretty much becomes useless. And there it is. That's a keep.
And it keeps going up. A villager trying to build an outpost, which is super key for the English. If Miss is able to get this up, allows him to have that network of castles bonus, but there's no way he's getting that up. Immediately denied. And military is not looking too good for Mista in comparison. He's got 33 men-at-arms, but B has everything he needs to deal with men-at-arms.
Yeah, he's got the crossbows, he's got knights, Sipahi able to just run in the backline. I wouldn't be surprised if B just, like, goes for a fight, but splits off, like, 8 Sipahi and then goes for raids with them.
He definitely has the capability to do so, and it could just devastate the English eco. Mista has moved out to that other gold, and it is totally free and untouched.
Single minute arm there.
So tanky.
Responsible for some havoc. Yeah, they are quite the tanky chats there. Causing some idle time at least, or at least forcing B to focus a little bit of his micro onto them. Looks like he didn't go for a second TC, so if he wants to go for something, he better do so within like the next 3 minutes.
Yeah, the King's Palace starting to pay off heavier and heavier in these situations that B's not pressuring Eco, which he was earlier. He was on top of Eco nonstop, which is where all the damage came in, but now he's just stabilized. He's been building up his military mass and waiting for that timing to strike, it seems.
Another Vizier point coming in. Maybe that is what he is waiting for. I'm not quite sure what it is that he's investing his Vizier points into right now. He did go for a landmark, which gives him additional Vizier point as the game goes on, so chances are he's going to get a lot of them. It doesn't have any siege on the map, but it looks like there's a big fight potentially about to happen. The army from Mista, it's looking really big right now because of the split formation, but that might not be too good for him as the archers all get caught out.
Yeah, I mean, he's got... B has Knights and Sipahi. He just gets to close the gap, and there's no spears on the other side. There's only 10 crossbows, 10 counter units for that many. This should just be B obliterating Mista's army.
It is. It is a complete destruction here on the military from Mista, and this might actually just be GG right then and there. Mista probably doesn't... He doesn't have the time to remass. He doesn't have the time to remass. And with that, it's over. It is over.
Look at the army value. 11,000 versus 2,500, and it's still falling for Mista. He just gets every single unit wiped, and if I'm B, I head straight towards the base, and it is over. We are going to game 5.
Game number 5. Ottomans. Underestimated a lot. Very good civilization. Don't underestimate Ottomans. You think you're safe, you're not. That looked really dicey there a little bit for B. Then he managed to come back with the Castle Age. Like the Castle Age from Mista, it suddenly looked dicey, but B played it exactly right. He managed to keep the entire army from Mista in his base and managed to transition into his own Castle Age behind it. Very, very well played. This was about to be like a potential 3-0. B might be in here for the reverse sweep.
Yeah. Oh, he is making it look tight. There was definitely a situation in that game. Quick castle timing from Mista, and it just looked like he was going to be able to hold easy, but B kept the pressure, kept the military back, and just allowed him to castle behind it and stabilize.
Yeah. And it's just a little bit, it feels like it was just Mista being a little bit out of position there, just moving out too early. I think he probably would have had a better chance if he went to fight in a choke point. And he definitely needs some spears there. Just a big spear mass. I mean, men-at-arms and spearmen, they take the same amount of damage from the Janissary, so might as well have the spearmen, which directly counter the main army. But yeah, it's just one big fight. You can never really lose a fight against Ottomans, because Ottomans are always going to be faster with remassing the army. But now it looks like we got a game 5 on our hands here, and it's going to be on Prairie, where we'll be seeing Mongols for B against the Holy Roman Empire. And I gotta say, this must be favored for the Mongols, right? Especially on a map like Prairie.
Yeah, it's immediately I compared Frisian Marshes to Prairie earlier, and I'm gonna do it again. It's another map where it's not as much the gold and stuff can be devastating. It's the wood lines I feel on Prairie that can be very, very thin and hard, which HRE, they need their wood lines, and they highly value that initial wood line under the chapel. And so Mongols, we see why he was saving it from Frisian Marshes. He was saving it for the Prairie HRE game. Big brain by B over here.
Yeah, now the question is, though, there is still a way for HRE to potentially win this game, because on Prairie, there is one thing in particular, one unit in particular, that is in abundance, and that's sheep. There are a ton of sheep on Prairie. It is not unusual that you come back with a haul of like 20 to 30 sheep with your scout on the map like Prairie. And then with the Holy Roman Empire, you can get a really fast castle age timing and pump out a lot of men-at-arms if you go for like the Burgrave Palace. And the Burgrave Palace, you can get these men-at-arm upgrades as well, which make the Holy Roman Empire men-at-arms actually counter knights, counter the Keshik. Keshik already a little bit weaker than the normal knight, so that could potentially be one of the ways that Mista could win on this map with the HRE against the Mongols. Now, question is going to be, though, how is the early game going to go? Because Mongols like to tower rush, and that can be deadly on this map as well.
Yeah, this is one of those that you hate saying spawn can be pretty dependent, but spawn can definitely help have very, very easy points to pressure, have very have very easy points to pressure, have very, prime time tower locations that could just cause too much of a reaction to deal with.
Yeah, definitely. It's gonna be a question of if the outpost happens, yeah, it's gonna take a lot of time to deal with it, and that could screw with the timing that you want to go for if you want to go for like a Burgrave push. And you definitely have to do something. You definitely have to play somehow aggressively, whether it's in the feudal age or really early on in the castle age, because you can never leave the Mongol trade unpunished. It is just too good. If you leave it unpunished, it's gonna kill you. I learned it the hard way as well. I tried to ignore it in one game. It bit me in the ass. You don't want to ignore Mongol trade.
Well, are you talking about the game against Divine? Did you ignore it, or did you just not remember about it?
I knew it was happening. I thought I could just kill him before it kills me. I couldn't.
Yeah, it's just trade is trade. I feel like there's two main things in AoE 4 you gotta react to: trade and fishing. It's like you can't let either of those go unchecked.
Yeah. I had fishing there, but it wasn't enough.
But Prairie going to be the final map for this series. It's gonna be TheMista. A lot of exciting series today so far, and this one is taking it to game 5 yet again. You don't want me to call my dog right now, because then he's gonna sit here and try to be the third co-caster here with us for the rest of the game.
All right. Not so long until we go into our match point game of the set. And man, this has been an amazing set. Like all the sets that we've had so far, they were absolutely amazing. I enjoyed every single one, and I just want to say thank you so much for casting all of these games here with me today, DrDabston. It's been a pleasure. It's been a pleasure. We've had long games here today, or rather long sets. A lot of them going all out to the 5th game, and yeah, it's been an absolute blast.
Yeah, always happy to cast. Always won't complain about jumping on here and getting the duo back together casting. And you have your cat as a co-caster. I have my dog as a co-caster. Right. But yeah, we see the initiating overlay getting updated in just a few seconds. We'll be into the game 5. We'll be checking in on those spawns and seeing if any of these players gets too big of a sheep differential.
Yeah, the sheep can definitely make a big difference here. I think HRE could potentially even just go for a second scout. Just on a map like Prairie, it makes sense to go for it. There are so many sheep. You want to get as many as possible, and it also helps you scout out that early game plan from the Mongols. If they go for like the early barracks, or if it's just gonna be a very fast feudal age, because both things can happen. But in this match, it's very likely to be that early barracks.
Yep. And so here we go. Game number 5 starting off. We're going to see 3DB's Town Center position in the opening next to the wood line in an 8k gold vein in the western side. And then Mista in the opposite side of the map as the HRE. And is starting over on that wood as you kind of mentioned a second ago.
Spawn for Mista. Look at that. He has back gold. That is perfect for him. He's going to be really happy with that one. Woodline a little bit forward, though, and on a map like this, you could just as well get value out of outpost rushing the woodlines, and second scout has been made by Mista. So sheep is going to be the name of the game in this one.
Yeah, this is actually a map that I think tower rushing the woodline, or putting a tower on the woodline, is almost more of a game ender than tower rushing the gold, because look at the secondary wood lines. Like, there's a couple straggler trees, but like the next wood line is in front of him or all the way to the east side of the map, and makes it very difficult to kind of react and counteract. But the way Mista's going to counteract this tower rush is with spears of his own.
Yeah, and here we go.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, as if the Mongols didn't have enough going for them. Now the Khan can shoot the Falcon. He puts the Falcon in the bowstring and he fires it long distance. And so now he knows everything about the base of the A tree. Look at that. Look at that vision. He doesn't even need to be there. He knows everything. And yeah, gets a good amount of information. Now he knows that Mista is not opposed to fighting this one out in Dark Age with Spearmen. A little bit of a sheep battle going on here between the Khan and the Scout from Mista.
Yeah, and if it's one thing that I know about 3DB is he won't complain about a little bit of a Dark Age spear battle, especially having the Khan, just a little bit of extra autos in there. But Mista on his side, he's going to have the Prelate. You don't want to be using that Prelate as a battle Prelate, though.
Yeah, every second the Prelate is going to be busy to be in battle, it's a second that he is not inspiring your villagers, and that always feels a little bit bad when you sacrifice your economy just in order to win a fight. And I mean, for now, looking at the way the Khan is pathing, it looks like he's just going the way that Mr. Second Scout has already pathed so far, and now the second scout from Mista is actually pathing near the buildings from B, so now he's going to know that there are 2 scouts in play for Mista. And yeah, Mista pretty much already scouted the entire map, and he's going to get a good amount of sheep there, I imagine.
Oh, yeah, and that's where you kind of mentioned the start of the game. HRE, they're probably were going to go double scout because it's so worth it for them. Them having that many sheep under the chapel for the whole period of the game is just so strong. They don't have to move out. It delays that farm transition further out and just makes things a lot easier.
Here we go. Villager is going to be moving out now for 3DB. We've got pretty much equal numbers right now when it comes to the Spearmen, 6 to 7. Potentially, yeah, there's the 7th one in the queue now for Mista as well. With that equal spear numbers, I mean, any weak Spearman here, Mista can just pull all the way back into his base, heal up completely, and then push back out again.
Yeah, and you don't really have that ability with 3DB, but 3DB still decided to choose back, take the fight, and Mista just falls right back, as you mentioned, and should just regroup on up as a whole. Oh, he sends one forward, though?
Oh, that's just going to be to put some distance here between them. And now the healing is going to come in. All right. There we go. Heals him right back up. And that outpost takes a long time to finish, right? That's been nerfed a couple of times, so the outpost build speed is very, very slow right now. Mista's going to have enough time to heal up all of his spearmen to go for the next push. Meanwhile, the spearmen from B are all relatively low HP. Not all of them, but like most of them are already low HP. Now, these are all fresh, pretty much fresh spearmen coming out from Mista, and he can also just torch down the outpost there.
Yep, needs to just go ahead, cancel that outpost now because he doesn't have the spear numbers. He's now up to 11, but he is not having that defender's advantage. It takes a while for those spears to come across, and doubling down on this Dark Age play. We are going full-fledged into this.
And B is committing a scary amount of resources into this. Behind that, though, Mista is soon going to be able to click up to the next age. And once he has the upgrade on his spearmen, this is going to look very, very bad for B. Mista just got to make sure that he doesn't lose too many spearmen until then.
Or lose the prelate.
That would be disaster.
I mean, numbers seem like it's there for him. B, 14 to 11, doesn't have the prelate healing for him and doesn't have a lot of the health on his side, but rebuilding that outpost and going to try to force Mista into doubling down as well, delaying his own feudal and taking this fight.
I think it's a missed opportunity for Mista to not just go up to the next age here. Even if that outpost goes up, he has enough units here, if he upgrades them, to just take it down afterwards.
Spears trading pretty heavily and wins the fight by like a mile. He sits out with 9 spears. Yes, B has 9, but not the ones that are forward, not the ones that are there to help.
Yeah, you gotta consider that B is on double barracks here in the Dark Age, and Mista is keeping up with a single barracks of his own just due to the healing here.
Yeah, one thing I'm kind of shocked about is I think B's needing to find sheep because his Khan's never been here in these fights. He's never been helping. Yeah, it's just a little smaller attack, but more importantly, it's vision and knowing when the spears are going to be diving.
Spear reinforcements, though. Oh, it's gonna be the mine work. Oh, that's exciting. That is exciting. And behind that, Mista, he has enough resource, he has enough gold to immediately grab the +2 armor upgrade on his spears.
And I think Mista knows how much B is investing into it, and he does. He invests in another prelate, and he has a third in queue.
That is very, very interesting.
That's
right
a
now.
chat of a play there. He just wants to out-heal all of these spears on the other side, but he might not have the numbers anymore, and that actually could be his downfall here, as the spear number on B's side might be enough to just out-heal the prelates, and then could just close the gap on the prelates.
Oh, yes, retreat. That is too many. It is too many. You gotta retreat here. Mista, fall back. You lost all of your spearmen. He's aging up, but he has no units left.
Yeah, he doesn't have any damage to follow up with the prelates. Invested too much into the prelates, not enough into the military, didn't have the double barracks play, and the outpost finishes.
Behind that, though, he now has triple prelates, so he's gonna be able to inspire all 24 of his villagers. Now behind that, though, B is also going to be aging up with the Silver Tree giving him a great way to scale his eco. And we also see the aftermath, though, with not having found as many sheep as his opponent, he has to go for an early boar.
Yeah, I mean, you could look at that as a downside, or I also could see B taking this boar anyways in this early game, just knowing how he plays. But he's on that boar, which leaves himself a little vulnerable. But Mista, he still hadn't quite stabilized from this. There is 13 spearmen circling around towards his gold and another outpost trying to be built. Needs the numbers.
Yeah, that outpost is sure to go up. That's a lot of spearmen here. It's gone for a second barracks as well. I think right now with all the spearmen here, in theory, Mista could probably just try and burn down the other outpost that's on his wood line right now.
Yeah, he could, especially with triple prelate. You can just heal up all of those units. Great job by Mista pulling back the lower health ones, taking good trades. Men-at-Arms just being super tanky. Let's see if he can just pull those back again. The heals are absolutely wild now. Getting closer.
Pulling back now.
Those 2 Men-at-Arms, though, getting taken out. One of the prelates starting to get focused, but the spearman number just gets obliterated too. Jumps inside the outpost.
A lot of value. Yeah, these two Men-at-Arms pretty much completely tanked the entire army there from B. That is massive value right there for him. And he has enough gold to produce a good bunch more of Men-at-Arms. But now emplacements is coming in on both of these outposts. And these outposts do deny resource that you want to go for. Then again, the map is so open, you might as well just go for a completely different spot out on the map.
Yeah, and look at where the wood line he's having to move out to, though. So far away on that northern side of the map that I was mentioning. It's that secondary wood line. It's just so difficult when it comes to prairie. Doesn't have the gold anymore either. And B is able to spot out all of these vills, knows exactly where they are, and even getting a couple little bit of shots off with the con on it.
Oh, he's getting the armor upgrade for both of his spearmen and the horsemen, so no horsemen might be coming in next as well. And the double, like the 2 bonus melee armor on the horsemen is quite nice. It makes them actually be able to, well, they're not going to take great fights against Keshiks, but they're going to be much better than what they would be without the upgrade.
Yeah, and spears just still providing that raiding unit somehow. 3 spears being as effective as they could possibly be. B dropping down a range as well, so Keshiks are coming out. The horsemen are out on the other side, but the riveted chainmail has already finished, and such a rare scene upgrade, but so strong against that comp.
No more upgrades right now in queue, though, for Mista. It's just because he doesn't have any access to gold right now. Might need to go to another gold mine if he wants to get any of that access. What? That's a...
Those are 2 Keshiks. I don't see anything wrong at all. They're just normal Keshiks.
Yeah, they look like any other ordinary Keshik that they would look like. Yep, normal yep.
Just keep pumping those normal Keshiks out. Fights are going to be really easy to cast when the Keshiks are the front line.
The horses look fine.
Oh. And one thing that I will say, being on Mista's side, these 2 outposts provide such an annoyance because you're constantly getting pinged and you don't know if it's actually a unit that's getting pinged or if it's just that mining camp over there getting pinged.
Interesting. So while he attacks, he actually looks like a normal Kashik, as he does even if he doesn't attack. By the way.
All right.
All right.
It's pretty funny watching him run away.
So it looks like we're having a pretty all-in feudal game here from both of our players right now. Both players just moving out on the map, trying to get as many resources there as possible. Something that I would like to see from Mr. though is just put a couple of outposts everywhere. You have the bonus with your civilization to get cheaper emplacements as well. So just some outposts every now and then to be able to really secure your position there. But it's difficult on a map like this, right? And the Kashik numbers are starting to build up quite a bit. B is just spamming them out right now.
Yeah, and the Spearsmen at Arms trying to push forward. The Boar could be vulnerable.
The lance. It's the lance. The lance is the missing element.
Oh, the lance is the missing element.
There we go.
So when they're charging, well, not after they charge, we'll be able to see them normal.
Yeah, there we go. They look normal.
Oh my gosh. Archer's trying to kite back, trying to just kill all the spears, because if B is able to clear up the spearman mass, then Mista is going to have a very hard time to block out this Keshiks, but spearman mass just continuing to chase down. Big number. Boar gets denied as well. Keshiks turn back around though.
One gets caught out. Doesn't get finished off though. Some spearmen were attacking there in the wood line. Do get finished off by the villagers. And horseman number is also building right now, and B doesn't have any spearmen right now out on the field.
No, he's trying to have a couple more pop out, but even still having the spears trading into the horsemen, it's not as, yes, it's the counter unit, but not as strong with the riveted chains.
There's a lot of horsemen in the queue right now for Mista, and now he's heavy on gold as well. Is this going to be the point in time where he looks for Castle Age, I wonder?
Yeah, that's a very good question. B hasn't fully hit his like trade boom behind this. I think he just has 2 traders out on the map, so it's nothing crazy, but he's trying to take the map control with his mobility and the Keshiks.
I'll just say this army looks more dangerous just because of the normal Keshiks here.
Normal Keshiks, yep. Absolutely.
Oh, I mean, but they're sneaking by. They're sneaking into the eco. That could be deadly. Oh, and Mista, he's just box walling in his gold mine right now.
Oh, what a quick play. Oh, there's an opening, though. There's a Keshik there. It's through.
Oh, he finished it. He finished it.
Oh, he finished it. The other Keshik's got distracted on the berries, though. Couple more vills on the berries getting taken down.
They've killed the prelate there. That hurts.
I'm also not sure if the back... I think the back wall finished over there.
All right, looks like Mista was scouting for the trade, but because there's so little traders right now, which also look completely normal here, he didn't really find anything there.
Yeah, and so he's probably like, oh, there's not really trade going on, but in reality, just B hasn't invested too much into it. B is all investing into Feudal Age. It's kind of paying off a little bit. He's up 7 eco, obviously 5 vills is what you kind of look at that to come out to be, and he really shouldn't be.
That's a big amount of horsemen right there. 17 horsemen out on the field, and behind that, it still looks like... Wait, never mind, he's not on gold that much anymore. Maybe Mista is actually just full-on committing to Feudal Age now? If he could just potentially go all in men-at-arms now.
Well, he's definitely not on gold. He chopped right through that wall.
Ooh, Scout gets found out. The horsemen could be dangerous there. That's a big army, and they can body block in villagers.
And look at the wood line. The wood line's what I'm scared for. Is I believe that it's just like wide open, and that's like prairie's so hard once you start running out of your first wood line.
Ooh, Kashik's finding some units there in the front. What are the horsemen doing in the back? They're looking, and they actually found a trader there from the looks of it. Taking that one out.
Keshik's diving in on that front side, but so many units to trade against, and I don't think that's the best trade. But reinforcing units coming in while Mista is burning his silver tree, so he knows where the majority of Mista's army is. It's on his west side of the map, burning a silver tree right now.
Mista has to move back. He's got so many horsemen there, which are completely out of position if a big fight happens right now. And it looks like B is trying to provoke one. This could be a disaster for him.
Yeah, just now starts to pull those villagers back. He did go up onto the deer, onto the berries as well. So there's so much vulnerability that if just B spots out, he could pounce.
Oh, the horsemen though. They could find the economy from B on the berries, on the deer. The deer you can see through the fog of war that they've been killed, and he is going for it. Finds the villagers inside of the outpost. Could, with that number of horsemen, just burn it down. But he decides to rejoin his army. I think he just wants to kill the army here from B.
Yeah, I think he's worried about what's at home and, you know, was able to pull all of those villagers back, was able to keep all of those alive, and somehow both players just kind of regroup and are remassing back up.
This is still really, really dangerous for both players right now. Whoever loses their military now might be game over. Whoever the fight goes well for, but the Keshik number is just really, really strong right now.
Archers grouped up there this time. Looks like the fight might be wanting to happen, but B's getting the better trades. He's sniping down the spearmen to start the fight. Keshik able to block off the other side, and the horsemen, they can't wrap, they can't close on the archers, and spears are there waiting.
Oh, this is terrible right now for Mista. He's losing all of his men-at-arms there.
What a good fight for B, just non-stop microing over the wall, sniping down spears the whole entire time. Perfectly microed, and Mista is in trouble.
The wood line. It's just the wood line, like being able to micro around with the archers. Whoever has the archers in that civilization is able to make use of it, and this hurts so much, and there's still so many Keshiks, and they're healing themselves up, and Mista calls GG. And the series goes in favor of B. Game number 5. B wins the set.
What a finish and what a fight. The micro there was just insane. And ability to close out that game.
What an unorthodox playstyle here that we had from Mista. He went all in that fuel age. I feel like he maybe overinvested a little bit too much into those horsemen. But still, the gameplay, like the micro every now and then, the Dark Age spear fight, really, really high adrenaline gameplay coming out there right there. And man, that was an amazing set once again.
Yeah, it was one of those that, I mean, there was a point in Dark Age where I thought it was game over for B. I thought there was no way he was coming back in it, but Mista overstepped once he had those 3 prelates out, needed to just regroup, wait for the mine work, and, you know, not really worry about that fight, but took it, and B was able to just continue to snowball until it was just too much.